Hi there, this is a comic color tutorial for a page from Last Monster Standing written by Greg Wright. I'll be kind of walking you through this as we go through one page from Last Monster Standing. Both issues are online right now through Drive-Thru Comics and Comixology. So we're opening up Adobe Photoshop, after scanning in a page, and this page has been done with Sharpie and Micron pens. So open this guy up. So this raw scan is pretty rough in terms of it has some, the colors their gray tones are mid-tone. So we're going to use the levels tool in Photoshop to adjust the lightest light and the darkest dark. And that kind of gives it a little bit more pop. You can kind of see in here how the lines are, the darks are darker, the whites are whiter. And then these lines, I'm going to segment with the Lasso tool just to kind of get straight edges for all the different panels. By hand, I could do this with a ruler, but why not? I'm in here already editing it, so we're just going to use the Lasso tool. And then I use the pencil tool, just because the pencil tool it puts down a really nice layer of color. I can have more control over it. It's really simple, much better than the paintbrush, in my opinion, but you're free to use either one. So I'm using the Lasso tool here, kind of just setting up my areas. And then when you use the pencil, you have to make sure not to fill over anything you don't want, breaking that wall. So for instance, this word bubble is breaking the wall between the two panels, and I don't want to cover that up. We kind of want it to pop out a little bit more, have some dimensionality to it. So I'm just kind of filling in between. Yeah, get that little bit down there. Yeah, and you can see that there's probably some little areas I'm missing, but we'll get to those in a minute here. There's also this giant line through the bottom. Well, there's lines around the edges too. Once this is fully edited, I'm going to put it into a frame for when it's finally printed. So right now, the edges just need to be clean enough. I think there's going to be a little bit of overlap based on the size. And then we'll straighten out this edge. So get some straight lines here. My process for comics here is a little bit of analog and a little bit of digital. So if I need to rely on I can rely on Photoshop for the straight lines, and I can draw whatever lines, the more natural looking lines, the more natural forms by hand. So now I'm working on this big edge. So there's a big crease in the page, and that's this large black line across the middle here. So I'm going to go through, I think we're going to speed it up here in a second, but I'm going to go ahead and white out anywhere where I need to, and then we'll go through and touch up again with the dark. Yeah, this crease just kind of cuts across every single piece, so we need to kind of fill it in. Yeah, let's speed this up a bit here. Get that edge. Yeah, and then this is just touching up, making sure lines connect, so there's an unnatural break in the art. And this is all, again, with just the pencil tool. I really favor handwritten lettering over digital lettering, just because I feel like it fits with the rest of the style. Kind of this hand-drawn, almost like an art crumb inspiration. And I think hand-drawn letters are more emotive in that respect too. So there we go. We kind of have all of this touched up in terms of the black and the white. So now we need to add color. Oh, wait. So there's a scene above, there's a little bit above where this character here is talking from the blimp, and we want to put his face up there because I don't think I drew it in. So we're going to copy this section. So there's a new layer. We'll drag it up, and then we'll just kind of reshape it to fit within the TV kind of hanging off the bottom of this Zeppelin up here. And I'm just using the different transform tools, and there's a couple different ones. There's scale, which is the simplest, the most straightforward one. But there's other transformations that you can use as well, such as rotation, skew, distort. So this is skew tool, so we're kind of using this to get more of a perspective on it, kind of form it a little bit. It's not the best, so let's try perspective. So here's perspective tool. Yeah, not working as well either. We'll kind of stretch it out. It doesn't have to be perfect, just because this section is going to be a TV screen, so it's going to get a style later that will digitize it and kind of give it like these pixels. This is the warp tool, and the warp tool kind of applies a grid to a section, and then you can move each section of the grid to kind of warp it. His face looks a little balloony, but I mean, that's okay. He's on a TV kind of over a city, so it shouldn't be too big of an issue. It's gonna be very digitized in terms of have pixels, and it's gonna look like one of those giant scoreboards at a stadium. That's pretty good. And now we have to kind of fit these edges back to what was in there initially. So we'll use the lasso tool again and kind of bounding box this. Select inverse, so we select the opposite of what we just selected, and then we'll fill in again with the pencil tool. Kind of cut off all these edges, give it more of a TV box around it. Cool. That's enough for that for now. So this white area, this black and white section looks pretty good. For color, we won't need to separate this layer because we don't want to be coloring directly on our layer with the black and the white. First, I'm going to save this as the black and white file, just so that if ever needed to, we can come back to this point. And I typically save as .tiffs when I'm working because it holds more data. It seems to have a better save in terms of it saves layers and additions to channels. Whatever complex thing I have going on, it'll be able to save those options. So now I'm going to change it from grayscale to RGB. That's red, green, blue. And you can see over here on the right, there's a layer panel that shows that we have the one layer. But there are also different channels of color. So I'll switch over to the channels and you can see red, green, blue are active there. We don't want to do that. We're actually going to go CMYK, which is cyan, yellow, magenta, and the K is for black. We're going to duplicate the black channel. And then you can see here, if I deactivate or activate different ones, you can see that different colors come through. So right now, only cyan and magenta are turned on. There's magenta and yellow, magenta and black, etc. And there's green from the cyan and the yellow. The purpose of separating these by channel is I just want to have the black channel for my layer. So I'm going to select all the other CMYK layers and I'm going to fill with white. Choose white, 100% at normal. So we still have the black channel. It's highlighted red right now. You can kind of see it in there just because it's selected. And I'm going to create a new layer, and this will be our layer that we start to, this will be our black and white layer that's overlaying the other layer. So if you see here, we still have black copy in the channel section. I'm going to select all of that, and then I'm going to fill in that layer all of the black. It looks red right now just because it's selected. Let's go back to the other side. So all CMYK layers and then the extra black copy layer are turned on. And now you can see that there's black. There's only a black outline because we selected it. And now I'm going to start coloring. We're going to get more into this in the second video, but I'm just going to kind of put a wash behind everything. So we want kind of this afternoon dusty sky in this destroyed city in Japan. So let's put in a gradient. That's a good hue. You know, you see the blue to the darker orangey color. We'll put some in here too. And this is all on the bottom layer. So if you look over on the right, you can see that the black layer is not affected. We're only doing this on the white layer, the background layer. There you go. So if I deactivate that layer, you can see that the gradient is there, but the black is not affected. The complete black line layer is not affected. So we'll get more into the next video with color and, you know, coloring all these different little pieces. But essentially the point of all this process here is to separate the black from the color layer, because later we're going to be doing some blending. And when you blend color, you do not want that outline, you want that outline to stay sharp when you start to blend colors together. And if the black starts to blend into it, it looks muddy. It doesn't look as it doesn't have as good of a feel to it as it could. So here, for instance, I'm doing the lasso tool to do another gradient in an area. So once you have this second layer, this color layer separated from the black layer, you can do whatever you want in terms of color, and it should not affect your line work, which ends up being really great. Thank you for watching. Next video will be coming up shortly. Thank you.